Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. I've talked about this subject many times before. A lot of this will be rehashed if you've seen my older dieting videos. But I'm on a diet again. And it's been this. There's a very good, I don't know the exact numbers. There's a very good chance this is the longest I've ever dieted. Usually if I make it past the first few days, I give up at around the 3 week mark. And it's always been for a different reason. But this one I am well into week 3. And so like I said, if it's not the longest, it's close to the longest. So I'm well into week 3 and with no, I mean, I don't know, obviously, but I don't think I'm going to be going off the diet anytime soon. So the reason that I am dieting is really just because of I love eating junk food. I think it's great. But it was mentally and physically not feeling very well. And it was actually, I probably wouldn't have gone back on a diet this time if I hadn't recently had that astrological reading done. And as I've learned more about astrology, what it's caused me to see is that a lot of the problems in my life are, I mean, some of it's because I was born on an eclipse, but but beyond that, mainly the problems in my life are because I have a really weak moon. And I see what the impacts of that are, and it explains the problems I've had. Essentially, it explains like a lot of the stuff that I've dealt with. And your moon is your moon. Your karma is your karma. There's nothing I can do to fix that. I'm always going to have a weak moon. It's nothing to do. So it made me kind of realize, well, it's never going to get better. So I need to learn how to live with it. And, so I didn't go into the diet expecting that it was going to make me feel good. But I thought it would sort of ease the symptoms, ease the sort of the depression symptoms, both in mood and residual, the residual symptoms, which are mainly the sleep schedule and the fatigue. And, yeah, so like I said, it's been over 3 weeks. And do I feel good? No, not really. My mood is good. I'll get the mood seems pretty good. But certainly relative to where it has been. So I'll give it that the mood has been good. But physically, no, I mean, I feel much better physically than I did, but not good. And it's like I said, I've been dieting for over 3 weeks now. In that entire 3 weeks, I have not done any exercise. Haven't had the energy. Now, it's finally gotten to a point where I may be able to start, if not today, then tomorrow. It's definitely improved. But I mean, that's how fucked up it was, because I had to get the sleep schedule reset too. And that's only just now finally coming into it. And it still fucking sucks. My sleep schedule still sucks. To give you an idea of how bad it is, or how bad it started, it was like I would go to sleep. I would go to sleep because I start work at noon. I would go to bed at around 8 in the morning and sleep for 3 hours. Wake up, not with an alarm. I would just wake up and go to work. So I'd be home at I'd be home at around 5:30. At around 6:30, go to bed for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Wake up, get up, be up for another 2 hours. Go to bed sleep for an hour or an hour and a half. Stay up for a while. After a few hours, then I would usually take another half-hour nap. Then at 8 a.m. we restart the whole cycle. Except usually it's pushed out a little later. So it took, like I said, it took weeks just to get to a thing where I'm going to bed at night again. Like last night I went to bed at 10:30, which is the latest I've gone to. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It was the latest or earliest I've gone to bed since, like, probably in 2 months. Uh, but even now, it's like I go to bed, I sleep for 5.5 hours at most. I'm up for 1 to 2 hours, and then I sleep for, an hour and a half. Either an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then maybe like a few hours later, then maybe I can get in like a few more, uh, a few more minutes, some like half an hour, 20 minutes. Um, So, yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is to eventually get it to where I'm just sleeping in one chunk. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But that gives you the idea of like why it was that I decided to go on a diet to help fix this stuff. And it's taken a while, but it is improving. Um, so yeah, so it got me, it's like I said, when this happens, I always think about dieting, other people's experiences dieting, my previous experiences dieting. And in the Western world, we have kind of a dieting complex. They're all like, people are always, so many people are concerned about their weight. And, and like, oh, should I go on a diet, something like that, blah, blah, blah. And, and a lot of people are falling off and on diets. And it's something that a lot of people, maybe most people, think about, at least past a certain age. And certainly, we've seen a lot of stuff like a real rise in childhood obesity. Like when I was a kid in the 90s, it was really bad then. Because we had au pairs when I was a kid. An au pair is like a foreign exchange student who lives with you for a year and takes care of the kids. Takes basically a nanny, except they're only there for a year and they're like 19 to 22 years old. So we had a lot of, so they were all from Europe. They were all from Spain, except for one who was from France. And like, I remember them being shocked with how fat American kids were. And that was in the 90s. And it's, like I said, they're even fatter now. So you have all this stuff with obesity. And I'm sure that Europe's catching up with us at this point. So yeah, it's like, so what is, but it's, so I've just been thinking about it in general, and there's this site called lolcow, which is lolcow.farm, which is like a female version of 4chan. It's really weird, like seeing a site that's all women. They'll ban you if they figure out you're a guy. So it's an anonymous image board, and it's all women, calling each other autistic faggots and stuff. It's really weird, but they have a thread there about dieting. So I see a lot of the stuff that people are saying, and it's like the same stuff that I see everywhere when I hear people talk about dieting. I've lost, I've been on this diet for X amount of months. I've lost 40 pounds. I've lost 60 pounds, whatever, but I haven't lost any weight in the last few months. Like it's always like the same thing. And that really gets into why, dieting doesn't work. Because, I've heard that said. People say like, well, dieting doesn't work. And because you can't keep the weight off, or basically because you can't keep the weight off. Like if you see like there's like, if you know the show The Biggest Loser, like as far as I know, everybody who's been on that show is just as fat as when they started within a year. And so that's why people say dieting doesn't work. But I think that saying dieting doesn't work is like, there's truth in it, but it's not true. I think what happens is dieting for aesthetics doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't is because every body has a different amount of body fat that it wants to carry. And it could just be that your body wants to carry 28% body fat, or if you're a woman, 38% body fat, or something like that. That could just be your genetics. Now, you can starve yourself. You can eat below that. There are things you can do to cut it down. You can get it down to like, probably under 10% if you want. But there's nothing you can really do about fat, like about how much your body wants to weigh, and there's nothing you can do about the fat distribution, the way your body distributes the fat. And I think that's like a lot of the problem is that people go on diets because they want to look a certain way. And no, that's not going to work. I mean, technically, yes. Technically, you can get you could if let's say you're somebody who's naturally really fat, you're I don't know, you're let's just say 120 pounds overweight. Now you got some guys like Chad Light who can just eat healthy and exercise, and they will be lean. They will get to a lean thing. But that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is that's not everybody's genetics. There really are people out there who can eat healthy, exercise, and some of these are people who are very active, and they're still fat. The only way they're going to lose a lot of weight after that initial part is to do those things like Joe Dicard back in the day was talking about, like strictly weighing out your food, like being very nutritionally conscious. And not only that, but if you get to that, when you get to that lower weight, you are not going to be at your peak physical condition. You're going to be weak. It's going to weaken you. It's going to reduce your stamina. It's going to, you're probably going to feel cold a lot of the time. This is because that just isn't where your body's meant to be. Now you can, like I said, if you want to torture yourself to look a certain way, that's fine. There are people who do that. That depends on how important it is to you, but it doesn't change the fact that that's not where your body wants to be. And so because again, there are people, and I wouldn't say I know them personally, but there's a lot of people I've seen who they exercise, they're in good shape, they don't have any health problems, not even like a hormonal issue, and like I said, they're still fat, really fat, like fatter than me, and that's just their genetics, and they could starve themselves and get thinner, but they don't want to because it wouldn't be good for them. It's not where their body needs to be or wants to be. So so for me, for this diet, I didn't weigh myself in the beginning, so I don't know what I weighed, and I haven't weighed myself since. I haven't weighed myself since I started. I didn't weigh myself before I started either, but I was probably like 198 because that's where I've historically been. So 3 weeks, I probably lost some weight. I can definitely feel my face is a little slimmer. My gut maybe a little bit better. I can't really tell. But the thing is, the reason I'm not weighing myself is part of it's because I just don't care. But another part of it is because, I don't want, that's not what this is about. I don't want to distract me from why I'm doing this. Because if it was just about what I weighed or how I looked, I would have quit in the first few days. Because I just would have missed the junk food too much. But it's not about that. Like I said, it's about how I feel physically and mentally. And also, as I've gone into it, it's beyond that. I really do feel better about the way I look being on a diet. And what I mean by that is it's not that I think that I look good. It's not even that I think that I look better. It's just that I'm not I don't feel this feeling of, and it wasn't ever that deep, but it was this feeling of shame about how fat I am. It's the thing is so now it's as long as I'm eating healthy, I can be fat and it doesn't really bother me because I've been able to just be well, that's just genetics, Whereas before, I was fat and I was there was that thing is I'm fat and it's a sign that it's an unhealthy fat. It's a sign that, I'm destroying myself, with this junk food, by binging on this junk food. So yeah, so sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Well, since I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, right. So yeah, so since it's all about having how I feel, that then there's no need for me to weigh myself because it's irrelevant. Like, let's say I haven't lost a single pound, and let go even beyond that. Let's say I haven't lost a single pound and or any fat whatsoever, and none of my health measurements or have improved. Like my blood pressure is still just as high, my cholesterol still just as high, my blood sugar is just as bad. Let's say all those things, none of those things improved at all. I mean, it's possible. I don't really know because I haven't checked, but even if all those things were there, okay, don't look any better, don't didn't lose any weight, didn't get any healthier. Even if all those things were there, I would still stay on this diet. Just because it's a sheer aversion therapy. Because I know how I don't want it's going to make the depressive symptoms worse if I get off of it. It's going to make the sleeping worse if I get off of it, and it's going to make me physically feel worse. And I don't even feel physically good now, but it's going to make it even worse. And no matter how much I love junk food, it's just not worth it. It's just like every time, like, because I think about like, oh, like, yeah, I'd really like to have, a chipwich or something. And for me, like I said, I just think like, okay, but like before I could even eat it, I think like, well, how is that going to make me feel? Like, not like mainly like is like the is the what is going to be like the physical and physiological impact of me eating that. And I know that it's going to, anxiety, depression, um, fatigue beyond what I normally have, and weakness, and just physically feeling bad, and psychologically feeling bad. And that's not even getting into the self-image stuff, which would be there as well. Self-image stuff probably wouldn't be enough, but it is a factor. So for people who, and that I think that gets into another part of why dieting doesn't work for a lot of people, is because like a lot of people physically and mentally feel fine, when they eat too much. Now they might not be healthy, they might be fat, and they might probably do feel better when they eat healthy, but when they eat unhealthy, they don't really feel bad per se. Maybe they don't feel quite as good. They're not like a top level, but they feel it's like they feel a little bit worse, but they still feel good. So why not enjoy yourself? Now, people like that, I don't know how. Like, they're speaking for myself. If I was somebody like that, there's no way I could stay on the diet. Like, even now when I've mostly crushed all the cravings, there's no way I'd be able to stay on it. So I don't know how people do it. I wouldn't have any advice for somebody like that. There are ways you can, but I don't know. I don't know how those people would do it. For me, like I said, having been through a lot of diets and failed with them before, um, whenever I diet, I always do the same thing. It's just a strict, it's a Weston A. Price based diet, and the rules are no sweeteners, no refined grains, no gluten, no caffeine. The gluten and caffeine thing are just for me because I have a gluten sensitivity, and the caffeine, I'm just hypersensitive to caffeine. So there's like, you could still eat healthy and have gluten and caffeine. Just me personally, I can't. And then no no high glycemic load foods, no foods that will spike blood sugar. Um, so those are my rules, and it's pretty easy to keep with it. It's not pleasant, but it's pretty easy. So I eat a lot of fruit. I eat a lot of raspberries, a lot of blueberries. Um, I eat a lot of brown rice. Chicken. Not really too many eggs. I'll probably start adding that. Um, some beef, not a ton. What else? A lot of cheese. I ate a lot of like slices of American cheese. Um, so yes, stuff like that. Corn out of a can, and beans out of a can. So I have a video where I talk about my base meal, and that's basically what I still eat, except I don't use spices anymore. I just put in salt. Um, and and I drink a lot of water. But that for me at least is not enough. Like one thing that really impacts the cravings is, so that's a very prebiotic diet, like the fruit and the fiber and stuff. Broccoli, get broccoli too. That's a very prebiotic diet, but prebiotics for me are not enough. I do need to add some probiotics. So every day I drink at least some kefir that has probiotics added to it. And so yeah, and then in the past I've drank raw milk, which I really like. I haven't been drinking that recently just because I don't feel like driving all the way over the place to get it. But I don't think raw milk has probiotics in it. But having drank it in the past, it does seem to have the same effect on me that probiotics do. So maybe I don't know what the deal is with that, but I might get back into raw milk if I can. Um, so yeah, but that's really helped, like, because like one of the times I like a previous diet I've had that I've talked about on here, I quit because the physical cravings were just out of control at around this time too, around like the 3 week mark. But I look back on it and I really think it was the lack of the probiotics that really seemed, because I was eating basically the same stuff I'm eating now. The only difference was the probiotics. So yeah, that really helps a lot with the sugar cravings or the junk food cravings. And especially if you're somebody who's like prone to poor gut health, which I definitely have. Even now, even with the probiotics, I have it. So yeah. Um, anything else about that? Yeah, no, I don't think I have anything else. That's all for now. See you in the next.